Hi, it's Linda from Linda's Paperworks. Even here in Texas, it's starting to feel like fall, which I love because we've had a long, hot, dry summer, and it's really nice to start to feel cool breezes in the morning and see the sun change. The sunlight coming through the windows looks different now. It falls in different places, and I just always enjoy this time of the year. And I was wondering if you're like me, that you really enjoy Thanksgiving. And if so, if you'd be interested in making a little gratitude journal with me, what I'm thinking is a little book that is not very big and that we can write every day 2 or 3 or 4 things down that we're really grateful for, and have a cute little book to just enjoy the season and increase our gratitude. So if you're interested in that, or it doesn't have to be a gratitude journal. If you want to make the little book, you can use it for any purpose you have in mind. You could make a little notebook to jot down ideas, or an art book to draw little sketches in, or you could use it just as a daily journal for November or any other time. You can choose whatever fabric you'd like to use, or paper to cover it with, or pages to put in it, and just make it yours. It's just a fun little journal. I got the idea for the binding from Rachel at Roxy Creations, and I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. So if you're interested, let's get started. I made my base from a file folder. This is just a normal file folder. And I decided on this one that I'm just going to tear it with my tearing ruler and make these 2 edges at least raw edges like this, and then cover it with paper or fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is tear the top edge and line it up so it's straight, sort of straight. It doesn't have to be terribly straight. It can just be kind of rustic-like, which is probably going to be. See if I've got it in the right place. Oh, that's the problem with these rules. I'm going to stand up to do this because I need my hands to have a little better angle and a little better pressure on the ruler so it doesn't go sliding like that. Anyway, just going across the top here. There we go. Save that for another use. And so we have our 2 edges, and I didn't tear them the same direction. I tore this one up and this one up, so they're a little bit different, but it's mostly going to be covered up, so it doesn't matter. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just cut off this edge so that it's straight like that edge is. And we'll have some straight edges to work with as well as ragged edges. So I'm just, I don't know if you can see that or not, just lining that up, hopefully straight, kind of straight with that, and just running a cutter across there. So that is another piece to save. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this piece just in half and just make it a little flat book with some pages inside. But I want to have this scored so that I can fold it easily there. I'm going to use this stylus, and I'm going to use the smaller ball on it. And I'm going to use the cutting edge on this, or the cutting groove on this cutter to make my score. And I don't remember where I picked up that tip, but somebody on some crafting lady on YouTube, I say lady because I'm sure it was a lady or a woman who did it, mentioned that tip. So I thought it was a great idea. If you have a scoring board, you can use that. I don't have a scoring board, so I'm just going to do this and just run that stylus just down that line of where the cutting groove is. This is also yet another Dollar Tree item, and it's very handy for rubbing on letters with, like rub-on letters or rub-on images with this end. So you can find a lot of uses for things like that. Okay, I'm going to sit back down again. All right, now we have our paper and we have a score line, and it's not quite straight, but that's going to be okay. I'll just use my bone folder and press this down a little bit and make it a little bit straighter. So this is a back for a journal. And what I've done already is I started a journal earlier. And it's slightly different from that one because what I did is I made a spine in it, and I reinforced the spine with an extra piece of the file folder and just glued that on there. And then I covered this side first I covered it with some brown paper, just wrapped it to the back like a package. And then I tore this leaf fabric to the size of that. I took it to my sewing machine and I sewed around the edge a little bit away from it. And then I went back with some wavy stitches on 1 or 2 rounds. And I stitched these around the spine. And I made a little piece that's going to fold over as a flap to close it on the front on this one. And so I went ahead and stitched this. I also used the stylus and did the same thing I did here. For this, I did 2 here and 2 here on that so that it would fold straight. And then I covered the other side of it. I glued this fabric down. This is the wrong side of this ticking fabric. The other side is very bright red. But I glued this down with the toned down side out, facing out. And I sewed around the edge on that. And then I went back with some more waving lines around just to give it a little more interest there. So that made the cover for the book. This is the fabric that I used for the cover on this, and I wanted to show you the difference between, this is the right side of it, and then this is the side that I used, the wrong side, I guess you'd say. I wanted it to be more subdued, and I thought it would look better with this fabric than this would. This is kind of too jarring for my taste. So that's just, it's actually some fabric I got in the remnant bin at Walmart a good while ago, and I've used it on another journal. So that's the fabric that I used for the cover on this one. And I wanted to mention the size that I cut my file folder that I backed this journal on, and the fabric to go on it. So the size that I cut, I'm going to put this down here, and you can take a screenshot if you wanted to, or if you want to know that. I cut the file folder to 11¼ inches wide and 6½ inches tall. You can do any size you want to do. You don't have to do this size. I'm just letting you know what I did. The front and back from here to the place where it bends, where I did the score to fold it, this is 4½ inches wide, and the back is also. This spine and the little spine I made for the flap are about 3/8 of an inch wide. This is more narrow than the one I used for the spine of the book. It's slightly wider, but the piece of extra file folder that I cut to fit on this spine, I cut it about 3/8 of an inch wide. So it's glued between the edge of this line and this line where that is sewn. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just letting you know what I did. And then this flap is 1¼ inches wide. And I didn't measure the fabric. I put it on the file folder and decided based on the size of it how to cut my fabric. And I just tore the edges of it. I glued this fabric down. I think I used a glue stick and glued it down. Not real heavily, but somewhat all over. And on this side, I used Fabri-Tac and glued it mainly around the edges, but I also put some glue in the middle too, and especially on the spine area. So I hope that makes that clear. The next thing we're going to do is do the binding. And what I did, I have this baker's twine, and it's bright red, and I thought it was too bright for this, so I rubbed it across my Vintage Photo ink pad. Just drug it across the top of it there. It'd probably be better just to put it in some coffee and dye it, because it feels a little bit like it's still wet. I may do that after a while and redo that. This is one of the easiest bindings you can do. And what you do is you just hold it. I like to leave a little bit there just so I'll have more to tie a bow there later. Just hold it there, and you go around your spine. And this is why I reinforce that spine, is so that it's more stable for the string to be pulling against it. Just cut it off, and then I'm going to just tie a bow. Normally I would tie a knot, so it would be tie knot at this level, at this point, so that it would be more secure and not slip around and come loose. But for now, I'm just going to do it like that. And then I have this little fringe down here that wants to get kind of caught up in that, but that's okay. Okay, so now we have our string here. And what we're going to do is just pick out some pages. I've already pulled out some papers that I want to put in this cover. This is a book page. What I did is I covered the type with gesso, and then I splattered it with, I sprayed coffee on it and drops. I mean, it was using a sprayer that was spraying drippy drops. And then I sprinkled some gold paint on this side. The other side is has a little bit of gold on it, but it's not as covered up as that is. This is a sheet of brown packing paper. This is a piece of a children's book page that I thought was, it's about autumn and the leaves are falling. I thought that was cute. This is a page out of a dictionary, or a piece of a page out of a dictionary, and it has the word grateful and gratitude on it. So I'm going to highlight those and let that show up. This is just a piece of coffee dyed paper, and I was doing something with an embossing folder, and I don't remember what I was doing now, but I have little bits of embossing on it, which I kind of like the way that looks. It's just a little bit of extra something on there. This one I coffee dyed, and I'm going to leave that ragged edge on there. I may do something to make it a little more stable. And then this is a page out of a ledger, just a ledger book, and I rounded all the corners so they look alike. And then it's another piece of coffee, might be tea dyed, I don't know. That's a grid page. This is a dot grid page out of a notebook that I sprayed coffee on it. And then this is a piece of just copy paper that I dyed with. I think I sprayed it, but I sprayed it pretty heavily there. That's the pages I've chosen so far. And what I wanted to do was have about 10 sheets in here, so it would be around 40 pages for the book. You could do more if you wanted to, or you could do fewer. It doesn't really matter, just it's your preference. What I'm going to do now is tear these pages down. And what I'm going to do is make them, I believe this is 6 inches. Let's see. It is 6.5 inches. So I'm going to do maybe 6 1/4 on this, just so it basically fills up this space. And then these pages that I have that are shorter can be put in between them, and it'll all work out fine. So I'm going to set this aside and just put this down on my mat and come up to 6 inches. I'm just going to go just barely past 6. Just maybe 6 1/8. This wavy ruler makes it a little, I'm guessing, guessing where it's supposed to go. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I want this to be, I like this end of this paper better, so I'm going to turn it around and do it this way, so that I have the part I like the best on my book, in my book. Okay. And I think I'm just going to set the extras of these pages aside, because I won't need this many pages in my book. So there is that one. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I haven't used this tearing ruler much. It's one I got because I heard everybody else talking about how great they are and how they liked them. And most of the time, I just use my metal ruler to tear. But it does give a little bit more of an interesting edge than just a metal ruler tear. So I thought it would be a good chance to use it in this book. And this I'm probably going to tear down because that's, well, it's slightly over 8 inches. We'll see. grid page. You don't have to have a tearing ruler. You could just decide where you want to tear them off and just use a metal ruler, or just tear it with your thumb, you know, between your thumbs, so that you are going a fairly straight line, which would be good too. I think I'm going to tear the top of this one also. And it's going to be a little bit shorter then, but that'll be okay too. Just think that might be more interesting to have the rough edge on both ends. Okay, that didn't tear all that well, but anyway. Okay. And let's see, on this page, I'm going to do this end, and I'm going to do that again where I tear the end of it off just a little bit so that it has the decal. I guess that's what you'd call that. See if I can tear it a 1/4 of an inch off and make it work. Some papers tear more easily than others, and I've heard that paper has a grain to it. So when you're tearing with the grain, it tears more easily than it does when you tear across the grain. I have a feeling this is across the grain. I have a feeling the grain runs this way. But I'm not exactly sure how you find that out, other than tear your paper and see if it tears easily or not. There's probably some rule of thumb about it. Has to do with how the paper's made. And I don't understand that completely. So anyway, okay, now we have those torn. And let's see, this needs to be about wide. It's about 4.5. I think. Yeah, just pulling these 8-inch wide pages in half is going to work fine on that. I think I'm going to tear the top of this one too. I think I'm going to make all of these with the edge on the top and the bottom, just to make them look alike. This is my day for paper to slide around. Take a 1/4 of an inch off there too. Get it in the right spot. I don't think I'm going to take the side off of this yet. I may decide to fold it back and glue it or something like that. So we'll just leave it like that for the time being. I've got some ideas in mind for the cover, how I'm going to decorate it. But I think I'm going to save that for next time and not try to get into that today. I do have a couple of things done, so I'll show you those. I made another one of these card specimen slides with the bee and the flower lace on it, and I cut a piece of, this is just a tissue box. I cut it the same size to go behind it, and that brown looks good with the lace and the bee. So, and I also want this, I'm going to glue it together so that this is stiff, because I plan to make this the closure for this. I'm going to glue it down. Probably have to go a little bit further that way, and then be able to slide it under like that. And then I'm going to put grateful on here. Be grateful. I know, it's a pun. So that's an idea. I don't know what else I'm going to do with it right now, but we will see. Okay, I'm going to fold these. Fold these. And then I'm going to put my pages together. This is what I want here. Okay. I think this binding is one of the fastest ways to bind a book. And if you have a book that's not very large, not very many pages in it, it's perfect. It's not going anywhere. So, anyway, let's go ahead and fold these. I'm going to fold this with the splashes on the outside that I need to tear down to, what did I say, 6 1/2. 6 1/2 right there. Actually, I'm going to tear it a little bit further. I'm going to do this. It's got the perforation where it was, I think this was Amazon packaging, and they perforate every whatever inches that is, 8 or 10, something like that. So I'm going to take that off because it looks perforated, and I want it to just look torn. So I'm going to tear, I'll just tear about that much off of there. Always one little bit that doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, and I want this to be about 6 1/2, 6 1/4. I'll just do it right there. I still have trouble with not making things perfect. So, I'm sure my mother is smiling in heaven, but down here I want it to be a little imperfect because I'm liking the imperfect look. Okay, and this is I'm just going to fold this one in half too. I may put something over that because it's not really very pretty there, so I may put a tab or something there. And I thought this was interesting. This is called a granny knot, and when I looked at it, I thought, that looks like a square knot to me. But the definition says that it's an insecure knot resembling a square knot, but with the second tie crossed incorrectly. So who knew? I didn't know that. But it doesn't. It's left over right, and then you do right over left, so you get a secure knot, just in case you wanted to know that. I'm not going to fold this one because I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I don't want it to be just half, I don't think. It doesn't have very much of interest if it's just half. But I might, so I don't know. We'll think about that. That one's folded and that one's folded. Okay. Now we get the fun part of putting it together. So let's see. What do I want to see first? I kind of like this. I wish I could remember what I did when I was doing this to get just that little bit of embossing. I apparently was trying to emboss something else that didn't emboss too well. So anyway, I think I'll have that as my first page. And then maybe the brown page. And this page. I have a lot of brown pages here. I wish I had something that was a little more interesting. I may have to come back and think about this a little bit more. I'll put this in next. And I am going to highlight those words there. And I'm going to decorate the pages too with some various things. Put this one in. And grid. This one, the book page, the dot page, and do I want the ledger page in the middle? I don't think I do, so let's go back and see about another place to put it. I think I'll put it here. Okay, so we have our pages. And it's not a real thick book, but it's nice weight here. And what you do is you just slide these pages under the, you have to get to the middle. Oh, you know what else? I probably should have a different page in the center because this page is thin and you really need something that's a little more a little sturdier. So I think I'm going to switch that page and this page. Maybe leave it like this. That page and that page and this page. And you can slide the pages up and down. You can take the whole thing out. You can take one page out and change it up and then put it back in. So you just lift up the 3 and just slide it under there, just like that. And there we have our little journal. Very cute. I think it's very cute. So we will work on it some more next time and decorate it. And I have some ideas of things I want to do. I want that to be folded down a little better there for one thing. And I probably will go ahead and cover this journal with some paper and fabric, or completely with paper. I haven't decided yet. And put some more pages in it too, so we have 2 books to work with, just for fun. So anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this and got inspired to make a journal of your own. And we will get back to it next week. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.